What will make a mother of a 9-year-old and 8-month-old demand they get out of a car in the middle of a highway while driving past 100 kilometers per hour? What drives her to push them out while the car is still in motion? What made her then, after all these atrocities, drive full force into a tree minutes after? What made a mother's love diminish so quickly to cause such a wreckage and destroy her family so much? Why was she driving so fast at the early hours of 4 a.m.? What caused the tragedy that ended 3 lives of a close-knitted nuclear family in what was expected to be the best morning of their lives? A tragic incident on April 10, 2024, left the people of Woodland Hills, Los Angeles County in shock as a beloved social media influencer and astrologer was involved in a fatal car crash that claimed her life and that of her infant daughter. The events leading up to the crash are still shrouded in mystery, with many questions remaining unanswered. As an influencer, she had built a large following due to her wisdom and insight into unfamiliar topics, including astrology. Her fans sought her guidance and admired her ability to shed light on complex subjects. However, on the fateful morning of the crash, her behavior was erratic and frenzied, leaving many to wonder what could have driven her to act in such a way. In the days leading up to the tragedy, she had posted a warning about an eclipse on social media, which has since been interpreted as a potential sign of the events that were to unfold. Her fans are now left to grapple with the realization that they will never again receive her guidance or teachings, and many are still struggling to come to terms with the loss of their beloved influencer. In this video, we'll delve into the events that took place before her final moments. We will examine the circumstances that led to the crash and the questions that remain unanswered. What made her act so erratic in a frenzied manner? What made her ram her vehicle into a tree? And why does the case seem so unsettling? Danielle Johnson, a social media influencer and astrologer who left behind a legacy and a trail of unanswered questions. Just so you know, the spiritual is real, and not everything can be explained. Some actions can never be explained. Our thoughts and prayers go out to her family, followers, and loved ones. A warm welcome to True Crime Family Stories. We're thrilled to have you join us on this journey, and we want to take a moment to express our heartfelt gratitude to each and every one of our subscribers and viewers. To our loyal subscribers, we're deeply thankful for your unwavering support and trust in our content. Your subscription means the world to us. To our viewers in general, we're grateful that you've taken the time to watch our videos and engage with our content. Her followers on X, formerly Twitter, would wake up to her tweet, "Wake up, wake up. The apocalypse is here. Everyone who has ears, listen. Your time to choose what you believe is now. If you believe a new world is possible for the people, art now. There is power in choice. There is power in choice. Riposte to make the choice for the collective." Danielle Johnson had always been the kind of woman who turned heads, dynamic, driven, and fiercely devoted to her children. A single mother of 2, she juggled parenthood and entrepreneurship with an ease that inspired those around her. Her ex-social media space was her lifestyle brand, infused with her love for astrology, energy cleansing, and spiritual healing. Her fans adored her. On social media, Danielle seemed to glow with confidence, offering live sessions about finding balance through lunar cycles or cleansing negativity with crystals. But behind the bright smile and curated posts, there was another side of Danielle that few saw. Danielle Johnson, known online as Ayoka and to her followers as Mystic's Lipstick, built an empire of spirituality and self-help on social media. Her journey to online fame began humbly in 2015 when she started posting zodiac insights, astrological readings, and spiritual advice. With over 100,000 followers and more than 210,000 tweets, Her voice became one of the loudest in the digital spiritual space. Her unique blend of humor, relatability, and mysticism resonated deeply, and she soon began offering energy cleansing sessions and self-healing guides for a fee. Social media, as her ex-husband Cecil Rice observed, was entering an era where people could make money by building a loyal audience, and Danielle was an expert at it. Danielle's path to becoming a spiritual healer was shaped by a difficult upbringing. Her mother, Sharonda, had Danielle at just 16 years old and struggled with substance abuse, leaving Danielle to grow up with deep-seated anxiety and a fear of mortality. These fears followed her into adulthood, manifesting as vivid dreams and visions. While attending Norfolk State University, Danielle joined a Bible study group, where such experiences were normalized within her devout Christian community. In 2012, Danielle met Cecil on Twitter. Their flirtations turned into a relationship. They were married, relocating to Springfield, Ohio, where their daughter was born the following year. Around this time, Danielle's online presence began to grow exponentially. Initially, her posts were lighthearted and zodiac-focused, like praising Geminis for their spontaneity. But by 2016, her tone shifted. She started presenting herself as a multifaceted spiritual healer, offering spells, rituals, and cleansing services on her website. For $150 a month, followers could access healing audios and PDFs, while individual astrological cleanses were available for $11.99. Her services drew both acclaim and criticism. Some hailed her as a transformative healer, while others accused her of scamming vulnerable followers. Danielle did not shy away from controversy. In 2018, she began marketing healing series specifically for survivors of sexual assault, promising to help them overcome trauma. When critics questioned her lack of formal training, Danielle revealed in a deeply personal Twitter thread that she was a survivor of long-term childhood sexual abuse, a claim her mother later said she had never heard before. Despite the backlash, her followers remained loyal, leaving glowing testimonials on her website about life-changing cleanses and spells. In late 2020, Danielle grew close to lled Cheney, a U.S. Air Force technician stationed in Italy. Danielle became convinced that lled was her twin flame, a spiritual concept describing an intense soulmate connection. This deepened her rift with Cecil. By February, she brought up the idea of legally ending their marriage so she could marry lled. Cecil, who had only vaguely heard of lled, was taken aback. Danielle soon moved in with lled, bringing their infant and 9-year-old daughter along. For 2 years, her life seemed stable. But as March 2024 approached, Danielle became increasingly erratic, her behavior seemingly linked to the upcoming solar eclipse. On March 1st, she warned her followers to prepare for Mercury, entering Aries, and the energetic chaos it would bring. "The collective won't feel like we're in mental fog anymore," she wrote, though she cautioned against road rage and accidents during this period. As the month progressed, her posts became increasingly frantic. She heralded the equinox as an astro-lottery ticket for certain zodiac signs and repeatedly urged spiritual practitioners to protect their communities. Her warnings escalated. Magic is real, spirits are real, gods are real, devils are real. Religion is not. She implored her followers to stay grounded, emphasizing that the eclipse would be a battleground for spiritual warfare. "The apocalypse is here," she declared on April 5th. Amid her prophecies, Danielle shared anti-Semitic conspiracies and retweeted COVID-19 misinformation, aligning with QAnon-like narratives. Despite her extreme posts, loyal followers continued to engage, some expressing gratitude for her protection spells and cleanses. Danielle seemed to believe she was leading her community through an unprecedented spiritual crisis. Danielle's final days on Twitter were marked by a mix of gratitude and desperation. On March 28th, she assured her followers of her love and promised free protection rituals during the eclipse season. She reminded them, "You have magic. You have a choice." Yet her warnings grew darker. By April 4th, she framed the eclipse as a decisive moment in an ongoing cosmic battle, urging her followers to pick a side. Danielle's spiral was a culmination of a life marked by struggle, resilience, and a relentless quest for meaning. Her online persona, Mystic's Lipstick, became a mirror of her internal battles, an intricate web of healing, trauma, and a longing to connect with something greater than herself. As the solar eclipse loomed, Danielle's story became a reflection of the very chaos she had spent years trying to tame. It began innocuously enough. Friends and family noticed her growing obsession with aligning energies and banishing darkness. She spoke often of cleansing rituals and astral projections, claiming to experience visions that felt too real to dismiss. These visions grew more vivid with time. Danielle spoke of shadowy figures, dark entities she believed were creeping closer to her world, whispering warnings only she could hear. By the time the solar eclipse of April 2024 approached, Danielle's spiritual beliefs had taken a darker turn. She became convinced that the celestial event wasn't just an astronomical phenomenon, but a cosmic reckoning, a turning point that required sacrifice. The weeks leading up to the eclipse were marked by erratic behavior. Danielle withdrew from friends, stopped answering calls from her mother, Sharonda, and began keeping her children home from school. Neighbors occasionally caught glimpses of Danielle pacing her front yard at odd hours, murmuring to herself while holding burning sage. At night, lights flickered in her house as if she were conducting some elaborate ritual. She said the shadows were watching her, Sharonda later recalled through tears. I begged her to talk to someone, but she told me, "Mom, you wouldn't understand. They chose me for a reason." Danielle's fixation on the eclipse became all-consuming. She told her daughter one night, "When the moon swallows the sun, everything changes. We have to be ready, baby. Mommy's going to protect us." On the night of the eclipse in April 2024, began like any other autumn day in Woodland Hills. The neighborhood buzzed with chatter about the upcoming eclipse, and families gathered outside to witness the rare event. Inside Danielle's modest home, however, the atmosphere was anything but festive. Jalen Cheney, Danielle's beloved boyfriend and stepfather to her child, arrived to visit. The two had a wonderful relationship, and although Jalen wasn't really into astrology and all that, he was ready to support her. He had earlier complained that she took all these discoveries too far and fidgeted too much awaiting this special day, but he showed support and understanding, no matter what. The air in their small Woodland Hills apartment was tense as Danielle prepared for her ritual. The looming eclipse filled her with dread, a deep, unshakable belief that it brought something malevolent. At 2 a.m., while the world outside was silent, Danielle and her partner, Jalen, were anything but calm. He felt the tension in the air due to her extreme, exuberant outpour. She was insanely restless, and although he tried to make her relax, all his efforts were futile. For reasons no one could truly fathom, their argument erupted, shattering the peace they usually embodied. The neighbors, accustomed to their loving, tranquil demeanor, were startled by the heated shouting. Danielle's voice trembled with desperation, while Jalen's tone was firm, dismissive. He refused to participate in her ritual, brushing off her fears as irrational. Perhaps he thought protecting their children from an unseen threat was unnecessary, or maybe he just couldn't see the danger Danielle was so certain of. In a moment of desperation, Danielle grabbed Jalen's arm, her nails digging into his skin as she pleaded with him to understand. But his refusal pushed her over the edge. Her world, already spiraling, collapsed into chaos. With a sudden blind rage, she reached for a knife, the cool steel heavy in her trembling hand. Before either of them could process the gravity of what was happening, the blade sank into Jalen's chest. The silence that followed was deafening. Jalen crumpled to the floor, his life slipping away as Danielle stood paralyzed, staring at what she had done. The weight of her actions hit her all at once. Panic consumed her, suffocating and relentless. She scooped up her daughters and stared at the lifeless body of the man she once loved. Her mind raced, spinning wild plans of escape and survival. The authorities would come. They always did. She had to act. Her first plan was grotesque in its simplicity. She would move the body, hide it somehow, and flee. Dragging Jalen's bloodied corpse down the hallway toward the elevator, she stumbled under the weight, both physical and emotional. But as she reached the elevator, reality hit her. It was futile. There was no way to cover her tracks. She turned back, dragging Jalen's body into the kitchen, leaving behind a trail of blood. Her eldest daughter, only 9 years old, watched in horror, her small frame trembling as she took in the scene. Danielle, now frantic, tried to comfort her, promising safety. Her resolve hardened. No matter what, she and her children needed to escape. Rushing to her car, she placed her daughters inside and sped into the night, the clock ticking past 4 a.m. Adrenaline propelled her as she tore through the streets. But as the road stretched ahead, a dark thought began to fester in her mind. Her children were witnesses. Witnesses meant questions, delays, and eventually the law catching up to her. The car slowed, her knuckles white as she gripped the wheel. Her daughter's frightened eyes met hers. Danielle's heart pounded, her mind clouded by desperation. She ordered them out of the car, her voice cold and unrecognizable. Her daughter refused. Danielle's patience snapped, the car door swung open, and in a horrifying act she forced both girls out while the vehicle was still moving. Her eldest daughter screamed as they hit the pavement. The baby, just 8 months old, didn't make a sound. Danielle didn't look back. She drove faster now, tears streaming down her face, her breath ragged. The Pacific Coast Highway stretched before her, endless and unforgiving. In one final act of self-destruction, she veered off the road, the car crashing into a tree at 110 kilometers per hour. The wreckage was discovered an hour later. Danielle's lifeless body was slumped in the driver's seat. At the same time, another call came in. Someone had spotted a little girl on 405 freeway, alive but in shock. The eldest daughter had survived, but her baby sister had not. Back at the apartment, a neighbor, disturbed by the argument and the trail of blood in the hallway, called the police. When officers arrived, they found Jalen's body in the kitchen, surrounded by tarot cards and black feathers, remnants of Danielle's ritual. The pieces of the tragic puzzle came together slowly. Danielle, gripped by paranoia and desperation, had killed the man she loved, her youngest child, and ultimately herself. Danielle's eldest daughter, the sole survivor of the nightmarish chain of events, would carry the weight of that night forever. The eclipse passed, its shadow lifting from the earth, but the darkness it left in that family would never truly fade. Detective Eleanor Ray was called to the scene. Her seasoned instincts told her this was no ordinary case. The house was a bizarre mix of chaos and ritual. Black feathers, burnt candles, and jars of herbs were strewn across the living room. Danielle's journals lay open on the coffee table, filled with frantic handwriting. Eleanor picked up one of the notebooks, her brow furrowing as she read, "The shadows will take everything if I don't act. The eclipse is the key. Sacrifice for balance." Danielle's writings painted a chilling picture of her mental state. She described visions of shadowy figures with empty eyes and voices that scrape like nails. She believed these entities were harbingers of an apocalypse and that her actions were the only way to save her children. One passage stood out. The choice must be made for the twin flame. The shadows demand blood to cleanse the path. Further investigation revealed audio recordings on Danielle's laptop. In these recordings, her voice alternated between eerie calm and manic fervor. "They've shown me what's coming," she said in one recording. "The eclipse isn't just light and shadow, it's the end and the beginning. They chose me to decide." Eleanor discovered that Danielle had been deeply involved in online spiritual communities. On Instagram and TikTok, she exchanged messages with followers who shared her apocalyptic beliefs. One of her followers became a key figure in the investigation. Tracking the account led detectives to Isaiah Green, a 38-year-old recluse who lived in a nearby suburb. Isaiah admitted to being a devoted follower of Danielle's Mystics brand. "She wasn't crazy," Isaiah insisted during his interview. "She was tapped into something bigger than all of us. She told me the eclipse would change everything, and she wasn't wrong. I didn't think she'd go that far." Isaiah revealed that he and Danielle had spoken extensively about the concept of cosmic sacrifices to cleanse negative energy. "She believed it was her duty," he said. "She thought she was saving her kids." As Eleanor pieced together the case, she met with Danielle's mother, Sharonda. Over coffee in a quiet diner, Sharonda recounted the daughter she had lost, not just to death, but to the gradual erosion of her sanity. "She was always so full of life," Sharonda said, clutching a framed photo of Danielle with her children. "But the more she got into that spiritual stuff, the more distant she became. She told me the shadows were everywhere, and I thought it was a phase. I didn't know she was breaking." Sharonda's guilt was palpable. "I should have done more. I should have listened when she told me about the visions." The case left a lasting impact on everyone involved. Danielle's surviving child is now in her dad's custody, Rice. He does admit that Danielle trained her well and that she is a strong girl. Apparently, all her superficial injuries have been healed, but she has difficulty sleeping due to PTSD from the event. He also said she's been seeing a therapist. Detective Eleanor, too, was haunted by the case. She couldn't shake the image of Danielle's journals, the desperation in her recordings, and the eerie sense that Danielle had genuinely believed she was protecting her children. In the end, the tragedy of Danielle Johnson was a sobering reminder of how unchecked mental illness and the echo chambers of social media could combine into a perfect storm of destruction. For her family, her fans, and the community she left behind, the question remained: how could someone so full of light be consumed by the shadows? Forensic psychologists and spiritual experts alike have debated the causes behind Danielle's actions. Some point to the toll of social media fame, where influencers often face relentless pressure to maintain a facade of perfection. Others suggest that Danielle may have been suffering from undiagnosed mental health issues exacerbated by her belief in spiritual warfare and the eclipse's significance. The tragedy also reignited conversations about the dangers of online spirituality, where self-proclaimed healers and astrologers wield immense influence over vulnerable followers. Critics argue that while Danielle's intentions may have been pure, her unchecked platform allowed her descent into paranoia to play out publicly, amplifying her instability. As the investigation continues, one thing remains clear. Danielle Johnson's story is a heartbreaking reminder of the complexities of mental health, the weight of influence, and the invisible struggles that even the most outwardly successful individuals may face. For her followers, family, and the community she left behind, the search for answers continues. While Danielle's teachings may have brought comfort to many, her tragic end underscores the importance of seeking help when facing overwhelming fear or distress. In the words of one of her final posts, "There is power in choice. For those who loved her, the hope is that her story will serve as a catalyst for others to choose healing, support, and understanding in the face of darkness." Rest in peace, Danielle Johnson, Mystic's lipstick, beloved astrologer, mother, and a woman whose light burned brightly, if only for a moment too short. Thank you for joining us on True Crime Family Stories. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to ensure you never miss a new video. We'll see you next time. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other.